All right. Hello and welcome to Catalyst for Healing. My name is Dr. Yannick. I'm accompanying with Dr. Richter, who you saw last episode. And also, as always, Maria Lloyd, our wonderful therapist, is with us today. Today's topic is going to dovetail a little bit off of last week's topic. And we're going to talk about music therapy. It sounds very similar, but there's some unique considerations with it. And I think we're going to go over how one could approach something like music therapy, how it can be useful for various mental health disorders, and also how it can be used specifically with ketamine therapy, kind of combining it with a ketamine infusion or a nasal spray and then doing music therapy afterwards. So maybe briefly, Maria, can you talk a little bit about music just generally in your life and maybe how you feel like it can be incorporated into a therapy practice?
Yeah. Well, music, as we know, it evokes powerful emotion. So a lot of people express themselves by listening to different music. They tap into different brain states with different types of music. There's so much power in the musical expression. I grew up as a musician. I played 5 different instruments, and I focused on the piano. And for me, it was an incredible way to express emotion. Like when I was having a bad day, I would pull out the Rachmaninoff and start banging on the keys, and it would be like this intense energy coming out. It was a way for me to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
If I was feeling a little bit sad, I might play a ballad and just have the experience of that, sound that I could express myself with. And so for me, it's been a really powerful way. I wrote music when I was younger, and ironically, through my years of the severe depression and being on medication, I lost all my ability to create music. And because it was so numbed with the medications, with the depression. So since ketamine, I've gotten back into writing music again, and it's like a different part of me has come back alive. And so I just feel like there's so much power in being able to utilize music in whatever way you can. I know there's people that don't like to play it, but even with listening to it, and especially post treatments is where, again, during that neuroplastic window, there's different ways we can utilize music to continue our healing internally.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's two groups of people. Some people have experience, playing music, and some people that don't, but everyone loves music. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never met someone that's just like, I hate music. I think we all like the sounds, and it might be different types of music, but the sounds evoke emotions and memories. And so I think, speaking as someone who really didn't play any music growing up, I kind of came into my love of music later in life, and then trying to play music later in life. And it's been really transformative for me. There's a book I read that I know I shared with you, Maria, called How to Write One Song. It's by Jeff Tweedy, who is the lead singer of a band called Wilco. Just happens to be one of my favorite bands. Anyway, the book is a really short book. I have recommended it to numerous clients that have come through our clinic. And it's not because I expect everyone to be like, a singer-songwriter, but the book in a nutshell teaches you how to write a song, but really what it shows you how to do is go through the process of writing a song. And I think this is something that we talked about in the last episode, but I think when it comes to writing poetry, when it comes to writing music, a lot of times we can't get out of our own way because we're judging the product and we're not just getting out what it is that we want to get out. And so for me, it kind of freed me to be like, okay, like I'm not going to be, a Billy Joel or something like that, but I can at least like just put words out there. And he talks about in the book, just putting random things together, like look in the room, identify 10 items, and then incorporate all 10 of those items into like one stanza of a song or one bridge of a song or something like that. And I think that it became fun for me to do that. And to be honest, it's not something I'm still doing now, but I did it for a couple months, and it was really like helpful for me to kind of kickstart this creative juice, which I have then dovetailed into other things and used for other things. And I think, again, it's just one tool that we can have to try and get out of a product driven life and more into a process driven life, and not judging ourselves for what we create, but for who we are and want to be, maybe.
Did you end up picking up an instrument too, or when you wrote your song?
I did, yeah. So I mean, I have a bass guitar that I'm really bad at, but I enjoy playing it. No one gets to hear me other than, I guess, my wife occasionally, but it plugs into my headphones and I can play. I don't know, it's just for me. And again, of course, I still have self-judgment with it. You know, I'm not practicing what I preach, but it's just like, I enjoy it a lot. And it's one of those things too with music that, like, the really cool thing when you're first starting off is like you advance so quickly. Which I imagine as I get better, it'd get frustrating. But when I was, the first couple months were amazing because I was like, oh my gosh, like every time I play, I'm so much better. That's kind of fun too. And it's because, like, so often as an adult, you just kind of feel like, all right, well, this is me. And I'm not going to like level up from here. Like, this is where I am. Where if you pick something like that, like, oh, wow, look at me, like growing and maturing, like I don't know. It's kind of a satisfying endeavor to like get better at something.
Well, and that's a really good point, because I think there's a lot of, as adults, so we limit ourselves. It's like, oh, that's not my thing, or I don't do that. But when we push out of our comfort zone and try new things, there's so much beauty in learning more about ourselves just in that process. And so I love that you kind of leaned into that, you know, not having any experience or background, and we're really enjoying it.
Yeah. And I love that you guys are, you know, musically driven, because music, I think we're all three of us, it's a huge part of our lives. And I played an instrument when I was a kid. I played the flute, actually, out of all things, because my parents didn't, you know, buy me a violin or a guitar like I wanted. Flute.
Not a flute guy.
But you know, I couldn't play probably very much right now. But I would relate to the whole fact is, some of us, you know, feel like we can pick things up better than others, you know, in general. And I think, to again kind of echo from the last episode, is it can be a little daunting. You know, I feel timid about starting something, and it's so much easier to focus on the process orientation. A couple of years ago, I tried to pick up the piano. I still try, but it was for a particular goal. I have a song I really love. It's a simple song enough that I could just literally put it up in front of me on some app like YouTube or something like that, and go key by key and learn that way while I'm learning notes and chords, right? And I think it's fantastic to be able to relate to it. But I would drive this even a little further. I think frequencies are one of the most attuned thing in our evolutionary, you know, as an evolutionary organism, whatever you believe in. When we sleep, the one sense that's fully active is hearing. In fact, if anything, it's more attuned than anything. And it might come from, you know, past listening to things that could be dangerous. But the point is, the human ear actually has an incredible range of frequencies. And I feel like there was a time in my life where I just didn't feel like I could perhaps devote the time, or, you know, I was also battling with depression. Like committing myself to learning a classical instrument. I picked up a simple, nowadays we have we have access to so many things. I picked up a simple app with sounds, rain sounds, something that was supposed to sound like a planet, something that was humming, a bird, or a freeway. And I simply spent hours just putting frequencies together and expressing myself that way. And it was incredibly healing. So I feel like it is one of those things that you don't have to be naturally gifted musician to create something that might speak to you. That's what I would that's what I would say to a lot of people that might feel a little timid about, well, I'm not going to pick this up. I've never played an instrument. It seems incredible. Like, I'm not going to go buy a piano or a guitar, you know, play, you know, and you know, pay for lessons or try to learn chords and things like that, because that can be very, very daunting. And I feel like when people are coming out, especially with the, you know, catalyzing of the ketamine, being able to start to feel like maybe I can express myself, start simple. Start with something as simple as maybe frequencies, you know, or sound, and you might surprise yourself. I literally have.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I created one thing that I use for sleeping now every night. It's a silly thing, but it works, and it's my own creation, and it's overlay of literally just 7 frequencies. I think, there's so many options that people have nowadays. to not just stick with one particular way of expressing yourself when it comes to music.
Yeah.
I think for me starting off, I think when I first picked up the bass, and then granted, this was literally less than a year ago. Like, this is very new for me. I was like, okay, like I need to like learn how to read music. And then I like spent like a day or two, and then I was like, no, that's too much. I can't do that. I think a lot of we set like very unrealistic goals for ourselves the second we grab something.
Of course.
And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to like tab because that's really simple. But I'm just gonna like pick a really simple song, and I'm just gonna learn song by song, and then hopefully I'll get better with time. I'm not gonna learn, I'm not gonna do too many scales. I'm not gonna practice all these things that are boring. I'm gonna do the things that like I just want to do, and those are like learn how to play the songs I love. And I think that the fun thing about music for me is like it feels physical. Like I like moving my fingers feels good, and like getting like a chord right is a very satisfying thing, both into my ears but also on my fingers, because you can like feel it. And I think getting to kind of the dissociated part of things, like so much of our life we are disconnected from the outside world, and we're living in this kind of bubble of like negative self-talk, and we're just spiraling. And this is just like, I feel like I like, and I go into my own little world, and I'm just like here, and I can just like make my own music, feel what I'm doing. And it just makes me grounded in like a very real sense of the word. So music is my thing. We talked about art last time, and I think I need to spend some more time with art, but that's what's kind of cool about this is like there's so many different things you can do. And I think the goal is just to allow yourself the opportunity to be present. I just have a question for both of you, because both of you guys have played instruments more recently. Let's just take one of our patients, and they haven't played an instrument. What would you recommend to them? Like, even from the array of instruments you guys are aware of, let's say they want to try to express themselves. Where would you start as to, like what kind of instrument, maybe something, what would you recommend patients like? A cowbell.
A cowbell.
I'm just kidding. I'm trying to think of like the cheapest thing, or a triangle.
And let's say
I'm thinking of like even just a little keyboard. I mean, they have these apps where like they'll tell you the number to press.
Sure.
And I mean, you can learn to play some things pretty easily through that. My son was like self-taught, and he did that, and it was just like watching how quickly he would pick it up. So like you said, just keep it really simple. I mean, guitar, you can learn 3 chords and play so many songs. I mean, that's probably one of the easiest, I think, instruments to pick up and learn pretty quickly.
Question for you, Maria, actually. So those are kind of, I feel like, almost like harmonic sounds. What about if somebody wanted to pick up drums? I know,
drums are great.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to think, like, would you feel ever that anything is too disruptive, or is it really just specific to how you want to express yourself?
Drums feel amazing. Have you ever like
drums are
actually
drums
a little bit? So
it's amazing. I know.
Like, I feel like if I need a drum kit just for like when you've got that rage and you're like, oh my God, I need to get, just go. I don't know. I think for me, like, I think people think music's a lot more complicated than it is. And and like literally you're never going to be too old to do it. My dad just picked up the ukulele like a year ago. And he's like a big dude playing this tiny little guitar.
Oh, how cute.
Pretty adorable.
Harmonica. I mean, that's super easy.
Like the kind of the beauty of music is a lot of people like try it and then give it up. And so if you go on Craigslist or eBay, things like that, you can get a really cheap instrument, or go to your Guitar Center. These things actually aren't as expensive as most people think, and just try it. Or
and singing. I mean, we didn't talk about that. But
we didn't even.
Singing alone. I mean, I know there's people that are tone deaf and they probably won't enjoy singing, but the majority of people can sing stuff. Like whatever, and they can find the music online and they can sing to it. But the expression that comes with that and the breath work that comes with that, I mean, it's a very powerful healing modality.
That's a really good point with breath work.
Yeah,
that's very true.
That's not something I've explored at all. My wife is a singer, and like, I mean, I hear her doing her singing classes twice a week, and I, to be honest, never respected, or not respected, it's not the right word. I never understood how much work, like how much of an instrument singing
Sing
is.
voices.
Yes.
And I hear all the exercises she's doing and all the different things, and I'm like, I just thought people just sang.
Yeah,
But, like, so
totally.
obviously it's not. So of course, like that's as analog as it gets. Just start.
Yeah.
Singing. And I think it can connect you a little bit more to the lyrics, connect you more to the songs that you like. And so I don't know,
Yeah.
just find the music that you like. Almost
And
everyone
while you're
has-
singing, you can dance. I mean, this is the thing. It's like moving your body. It's like moving your mind. I
It's
mean,
true.
all of these things are expressions and expressions of you and expression
Yeah.
of feeling and expression of connection to yourself.
I had an epiphany, but I'm at the age where I've just gone to like 20 weddings in the last 2 years. And I've got to
That's
like
a lot.
I mean, genuinely, that's actually not an exaggeration. It's actually might be more than that. But obviously a lot of dance floors, and it's always interesting to see kind of the dynamics with dance floors and things like that. And
Yeah.
of course, like usually there's alcohol involved, but I went to a Muslim wedding. It was like a Pakistani wedding, and it was dry, no alcohol. And to be honest, for me, like I usually need like a little bit of a lubrication to get dancing. And I was like, I just had this like aha moment. Like literally no one cares what you look like, what you're doing. Like everyone's just kind of focusing on themselves and having fun. And I just went out there and started like dancing however I wanted to dance. And I had literally the most fun I've had in such a long time. And I think that was actually a turning point for me in the way that I think about like self-expression and art and who I am and what people think about me. It's like dance, music, art, just like be yourself, do what feels right. No one cares what you're creating, just do it for yourself. I don't know. I know that was a little bit of like a sidebar, but it felt relevant.
No, that was great. I think that's a really good point, because the self-consciousness is what keeps us from leaning into those practices.
Yeah.
And that's actually something, and that could be a whole chapter for itself. But Maria, for you as a therapist, would you, and I of course I understand that it's very individual from client to client, but do you go with clients to do a lot of these self-expressions individually, or do you recommend or empower them to maybe do it in a group of novices or a class or what? I know that can be very individual, but is there one way or the other that you feel stronger about when it comes to self-expression through?
I think it's a comfort level. I mean, generally I try to explore like what are some things you're already doing that are creative, and like help them lean into that a little bit more, because if they already have some kind of a leaning, then why not just let's expand that a little bit. But I mean, there are people that just like they can't even think of anything, and so then I'll brainstorm with them. But you're right, like some people like the groups and get a lot out of that feedback loop, and some people don't like being in groups and prefer individual. So it kind of depends on personality. But I'll just explore all the options with them and see what feels the best,
Okay, so I'm going to put in the show notes how to write one book.
How to write a song.
Yes, I'm biased. I love Jeff Tweedy. I love Wilco. But I've had so many patients who have no idea who Wilco is or Jeff Tweedy who have really enjoyed this book and have actually gotten a lot from it. I know Maria got the book and she enjoyed it, or at least told me she enjoyed it. But
I loved it.
Just try it. Again, one of those things to try. I think whether you feel like you're a musical person or not, like just give it a try. It feels right for a lot of people. Try not to judge yourself. Just enjoy the process and go from there. Anything else to add, guys?
No.
It's pretty thorough. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that's it for now. I appreciate you all joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.